What is going on, all you smart marks and pro wrestling fans out there? Welcome back to Squared Circle Speak, or if this is your first time here, welcome to Squared Circle Speak, a YouTube channel where we discuss all things professional wrestling. I am Ryan. With me is my co-host, the Velveteen Dream, Nathan.
What the hell?
I don't know. I was coming up with random nicknames for you.
I don't think the Velveteen Dream is a good one. That might have a little stigma behind it.
Oh, maybe. Didn't think of that before I said it. So today we're gonna take a trip to the old school. We're gonna be talking about something that neither one of us know too much about, but it is a championship for one reason or another is not considered a world championship by many people. And I'm not really sure why, because it was around for 30 years. So
I consider it a world championship.
I mean, a lot of people don't because like Kurt Hennig won it, but everyone says he never won a world title. So it's really weird. Maybe we'll get into this.
I do understand a little bit because it was a little bit of a regional thing.
Yeah, but people consider ECW and ROH world championships.
But they toured farther. Like,
you
know what I mean?
I guess that's true. Yeah. I mean, I get it's just weird. Like, it's a world title that was around for 30 years and no one really ever talks about it. So that's why we're going to talk about it today. We're going to be talking about the history of the World Heavyweight Championship. The title was established on May 18th, 1960, and it retired on December 12th, 1990. So we've got 30 years of history going on. The AWA was one of the first, by the way, it was one of the first companies to have a real
national
TV deal.
That is true. They were with ESPN.
Yeah, so maybe we'll talk about this, and then maybe we'll figure out this should be considered a world title. For some people, it's not. Maybe it's just because it's so old, and it was like
the NWA title's old,
but it became like maybe it's just because it never really did. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was the AWA title, and it never went global, and they never really had much success. I guess is probably why they don't.
I guess.
But all right. So the first ever AWA World Heavyweight Champion was Pat O'Connor. He held the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. He was recognized as the first world champion by the AWA. He was given 90 days to defend the title against Vern Gagne or be stripped. He did not. So Vern Gagne became champion. He was awarded the title on August 16th, 1960. And get used to that name because you're going to hear that name a lot.
Yeah. So Vern Gagne was the booker, probably the owner. I don't know.
I think he was the owner too. Yeah.
Yeah, of AWA. And back then, these bookers and owners, if they were wrestlers, they kind of booked themselves to be the champion quite often.
Them or their sons. So
yeah.
So Vern Gagne would then go on to hold that title for 329 days.
Woo.
He would drop it to Gene Kiniski on July 11th, 1961 in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Unless I say otherwise, every one of these title changes took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota, because they're
that might be a reason why people don't consider it a world championship.
Yes. So then Gene Kiniski was only champion for 28 days before he dropped it back to Vern Gagne. On August 8th, 1961, Vern Gagne got the title back for his second reign. He would hold on to it for 154 days. He would then drop it on January 9th, 1962 to Mr. M.
What does that stand for?
I don't know. The guy's name is Miller, so I guess William Miller.
Mr. M, huh?
Mr. M.
That might be the most generic name I've ever heard.
This I can tell you right now, that's the first name we've done in all these title histories that I have not recognized.
Right.
Mr. M would have a 224-day reign as world champion.
Mr. M. I'm really starting to see why this title's not recognized. I'm just like,
this was the 60s, I guess. It was a different time, Nathan.
Yeah.
But Mr. M would like I said, 224 days. Vern Gagne would get the title back on August 21st, 1962. This is already his third reign. We are 2 years into this championship, and Vern Gagne is already a 3-time champion. This reign would go on for 322 days. Vern Gagne would drop it on July 9th, 1963 to The Crusher.
That's a name I've heard.
Yeah.
Very generic also, but I have heard it.
The Crusher was only champion for 11 days before dropping it back on July 20th to Vern Gagne. Then Vern Gagne would hold it for 7 days. He would then drop it in Omaha, Nebraska to Fritz Von Erich.
Fritz Von Erich.
Von Erich, I didn't know he won titles. I'll be honest with you. Fritz Von Erich would hold on to it for 12 days. He would then drop it back to Vern Gagne on August 8th, 1963 in Amarillo, Texas. Well, they did travel a little bit.
A little.
Vern Gagne would hold it for 100 days. He would then drop it on November 16th, 1963 to The Crusher. This would be The Crusher's second reign as AWA World Champion, but it would only last 28 days, a whole 17 days longer than his first reign. On December 14th, 1963, Vern Gagne would have his sixth reign as AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He would hold on to it for 140 days before dropping it.
Not only is he winning it a lot, he's holding it for over 100 days every time.
Sometimes he's had multiple 300-day plus reigns already.
Yeah.
On May 2nd, 1964, Mad Dog Vachon would defeat Vern Gagne in Omaha, Nebraska for the championship.
The father of Luna Vachon.
Yeah. But it would not last long as he was only champion for 14 days before Vern Gagne would take it back on May 16th, 1964.
Jeez.
Seventh reign for Vern Gagne. This one would last 157 days. But Mad Dog Vachon would get the title back in Minneapolis, Minnesota on October 20th, 1964. And this time, he would have a pretty sizable reign because he would hold on to it for 207 days.
Hey, all right. Maybe Gagne was feeling a little charitable at that time.
Yeah, maybe he stopped wrestling.
Probably more likely. He probably got hurt.
And then after 207 days, Mighty Igor Vodik would defeat Mad Dog Vachon. Who is that?
That is the name, man.
That's no one I know. Okay, I thought maybe it was like somebody else that had a different. No, just no one I've seen before. So cool. He would hold on to it. He would only hold on to it for a week. 7-day champion Mad Dog Vachon would take the title back on May 22nd, 1965. Both of those happened in Omaha, Nebraska. Vachon would have a 91-day reign. He would then drop it to The Crusher for his third reign on August 21st, 1965. The Crusher would then have a 83-day reign before Mad Dog Vachon would take it back. So did he become the new face of the company then, I guess, for a while? For about a year there? Because he's had 4 title reigns in a year. Mad Dog Vachon won it November 12th, 1965 in Denver, Colorado. And his reign would be 365 days. We have a full year. That's the longest reign so far. Mr. Wrestling would take the title off of Mad Dog Vachon on January 8th, 1966. It would only last 6 days. But so there's a little thing here. AWA President Stanley Blackburn reviewed the match from January 8th, 1966, declaring it a no contest since Mr. Wrestling's legs are on the top rope while pinning Vachon during the final fall. They would have a rematch, and Vachon would then take the title back. So technically, I guess Mr. Wrestling never actually held the championship.
Huh.
It's a little confusing here. So Mad Dog Vachon's technically still on his 4th reign, but kind of on his 5th reign. But this next reign would be 302 days. So Add those two together, he's over 600 and, he's at 667 days total as champion.
Right.
So then November 12th, 1966, Dick the Bruiser would defeat Mad Dog Vachon to become champion. But once again, it was short-lived as it was only a 7-day reign. Mad Dog Vachon would take the title back November 19th, 1966 for a 99-day reign. And then our favorite wrestler, Vern Gagne, is back as world champion, defeating Mad Dog Vachon on February 26, 1967. Now, this reign would last 538 days.
Woo!
Wow.
That's a long one, man. That's a long one.
From February 26, 1967 to August 17th, 1968, when Dr. X would take the title from Vern Gagne.
These names. Mr. Wrestling, Mr. M, Dr. X.
Yeah. But Nathan, Dr. X was only a 14-day champion because our good old boy Vern Gagne would once again become champion on August 34th, 1968. And this time, he would hold on to that belt for 2,625 days.
Jeez. So I'm guessing at this point, this is what, his ninth reign?
This is his ninth reign, yes.
So I'm guessing at this point, this is when, I think this is, in the middle of Bruno Sammartino's long reigns, and he's probably trying to compete with Bruno and wants to have that kind of, thing going on since WWF had it going on. So he decided to do his own, and what is that?
He was champion from August 34th, 1968 to November 8th, 1975.
I mean, is that as long as Bruno's long one?
No, Bruno's is, well,
yeah, because he was like 7 years on his long one, and then he had another 4 years. He's 11 years total.
Bruno's 2,803. So yes, it is longer than Bruno Sammartino's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So he would drop it to Nick Bockwinkel on November 8th, 1975. And then Nick Bockwinkel would go on to hold the title for 1,714 days.
Two huge long reigns back to back.
Yeah. So from 1968 to 1980, there were two champions.
That might be the craziest stat in wrestling. I mean, I don't even know how that, like, even back then, that had to frustrate people, right?
I couldn't imagine that. Like, I couldn't imagine having one guy hold the title for 7 years and then another guy hold it for 5 years.
That's crazy.
That's insane. So, July 18, 1980, Vern Gagne would defeat Nick Bockwinkel for his 10th reign. He would hold it 305 days, but then during this reign, he would retire as champion. He would retire from active wrestling. So instead of, doing a tournament or something like that, now they just gave the title back to Nick Bockwinkel. So Nick Bockwinkel was awarded the championship after Vern Gagne retired. Nick Bockwinkel would hold on to it for 467 days. Technically, it was 334. Then we had another little screw job thing where Hulk Hogan on April 8th, 1982 would beat Nick Bockwinkel, but both parties used a foreign object during the match. So after 6 days, Bockwinkel was awarded the championship back, and technically Hulk Hogan never was champion. So in total, Nick Bockwinkel's reign was 467 days. It was just split up between two technically different reigns, but not really. This title history is confusing.
Yeah, just a little.
So then Nick Bockwinkel would hold it till August 29th, 1982, when Otto Wands would defeat him. That's a name I've never heard of before either.
Yeah.
He would hold on to it for 41 days before dropping it back to Nick Bockwinkel in Chicago, Illinois. So then, this is confusing. The championship is held up on December 27th, 1982, after a match with Jerry Lawler. It is given back to Bockwinkel after defeating Lawler in a rematch on January 10th, 1983. Bockwinkel is retroactively recognized as having continued been champion during the period the title was held up.
So Jerry Lawler technically won the belt, but he never got recognized.
I guess, but it was never actually recognized that he won it here. So technically, Nick Bockwinkel's reign's 501 days, but it should only be a little bit. Then there should be a Lawler reign for about a couple weeks, and then there should be a Bockwinkel reign, but for some reason, that's not the case. So Bockwinkel was champion for technically, I guess, 501 days on February 22nd, 1984 in Tokyo, Japan. Jumbo Tsuruta would defeat Nick Bockwinkel for the championship. Interesting. He would defend it till May 13th, 1984, when Rick Martel would defeat Jumbo Tsuruta in St. Paul, Minnesota for the title. That's another one I didn't know held this belt.
You knew that. We had a VHS of it.
Oh, we did. That's right. I completely forgot about that. Rick Martel would be champion for 595 days. He would drop it to Stan Hansen on December 29th, 1985 in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Stan Hansen would then take the title to All Japan and defend it over there for a while during the summer. In June 1986, after 181 days, Nick Bockwinkel would defeat Stan Hansen for his fourth reign as championship. He would hold it 308 days. Kurt Hennig would defeat Nick Bockwinkel on May 2nd, 1987. And here we go, some more controversy.
Seems to be a lot of controversy around Nick Bockwinkel.
The championship was held up immediately after the match between Hennig and Bockwinkel due to controversy over interference by Larry Zbyszko on Hennig's behalf. But the title is returned to Hennig days later after the AWA Championship Committee rules that there was no evidence of interference. On February 16th, 1988, during his reign, the title was again held up, this time due to a no contest between Hennig and the Grappler in Portland, Oregon. Hennig would regain the title on March 5th in Portland thanks to his replacement, the Assassin, defeating the Grappler in a decision match. AWA did not recognize this, which makes Hennig a one-time champion.
The Assassin and the Grappler.
So, in a match between the Assassin and the Grappler, Kurt Hennig became champion.
I'm really starting to see why this is not recognized, man.
Well, and it's so confusing because technically Hennig's a one-time champion. They don't, unless all this never actually officially happened.
Yeah.
So
it's like WWE live event.
Yeah, so Hennig won the championship May 2nd, 1987 at Super Clash 2. We're just going to say that. He held it for 373 days. He would drop it to Jerry Lawler on May 9th, 1988. Lawler would hold it for 256 days. During this match, Jackie Fargo was the special guest referee after getting more votes in a national television poll, or a national telephone poll, than Hennig's father, Larry the Axe Hennig. CWA owner Jerry Jarrett announced weeks before the match that Lawler promised to retire if he lost. This is when Lawler, during this reign, defeated Kerry Von Erich to win the WCCW World Heavyweight Champion and became the first unified AWA World Heavyweight Champion. So he would hold it. Jerry Lawler would be champion for 256 days. On January 20th, 1989, it was vacated. Jerry Lawler was stripped of the championship after the Continental Wrestling Association and the AWA split ways. So he never lost it.
Gotcha.
So then Larry Zbyszko would win a battle royal, last eliminating Tom Zink to win the vacant championship on February 7th, 1989. He would hold it for 368 days before dropping it to Mr. Saito on February 10th. Mr. Saito, February 10th, 1990 in Tokyo, Japan. Mr. Saito would hold it for 57 days, dropping it back to Larry Zbyszko on April 8th, 1990 at Super Clash 4. Zbyszko would hold on it for 248 days. He was then stripped of it on December 12th, 1990 because he left for WCW, and then AWA closed doors on January 12th, 1991, and that is it. Larry Zbyszko is officially the last ever AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He never lost it. He was stripped of it because he left, and then they never had another champion because they went defunct.
So, in closing, we originally opened this this discussion here, Ryan.
Yeah, I think
why is this title not recognized as a World Heavyweight title?
I think we figured it out.
Well, between the confusing booking and vacating and not vacating, the title history is very confusing.
It is.
They didn't travel a whole lot, and when they did, the belt would just go to Japan or somewhere for a while. Vern Gagne booking himself as the champion for as much as he did, I guarantee he held it for almost 5,000 days altogether.
I've got the total here.
So, I mean, with all that, I think that's why this is not recognized as a world title.
Yeah. So the total, longest reigns total, Vern Gagne obviously held the title for the longest, at 4,677 days total.
Oh, I was close.
Nick Bockwinkel would be second with 2,990 days on 4 reigns. That's pretty damn impressive. Mad Dog Vachon would be third at 776 days with 5 reigns. Larry Zbyszko is second with 2 reigns at 616 days, and Rick Martel would be fifth with 1 reign at 595 days. Obviously, the longest reign is Vern Gagne for his fucking 2,000 day reign. So yeah, this was not what I was expecting with this title. I did not know it was this confusing. There were so many just awarding championships and then stripping of a title, but then rewarding it back, and then this isn't actually recognized, but it happened, but it didn't happen. And yeah, so yeah, I think we got our answer as to why no one actually talks about this title much. It's a cool looking belt though. Like, I do like the design of the belt.
You say that, but basically, so this belt basically predated WCW's title when they changed it when they turned it into the big gold belt. Everybody calls it the big gold belt.
Yep.
And this belt kind of looks very similar to the World Heavyweight title.
Yeah, except it's like silver.
It's just silver. It's more silver. So that might be another factor because it was just, it looks like the WCW title. But I just think, I think there was not enough big names to win this belt. And the big names that did hold it, there was a lot of controversy. So I think they had a lot of things going against it, Ryan.
Yeah.
I wish AWA would have been bigger. It should have been bigger. I mean, it was on ESPN, for crying out loud. No other wrestling company's done that. So I wish they would have survived. Obviously, I wish all wrestling companies would survive. Obviously, but it happens for a reason. And in closing, I think this title history is probably going to go down as not one of the better title histories, even though it should be. And what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, going through this title history list, yeah, it's pretty apparent that Vern Gagne just was booking and really wasn't a good booker. Just based on the way he had people win titles, and then he was booking himself. I mean, people thought Jeff Jarrett was bad. in TNA, but Jesus Christ. Like, this is, I mean, Vern Gagne in 1968 was probably fucking like 60 years old and held the title for 2,000 days. Like,
All right.
I mean, actually, he wasn't that old. He was born in 1926, though, so he would have been in 19, when he was champion in 1968, he was pretty fucking old.
Yeah.
So he was like 42.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I could see why this title is not remembered very well in this company as a whole, like AWA as a whole. And AWA had a lot of names. You know, like we mentioned, Hulk Hogan was there, Rick Martel, Kurt Hennig, Jerry Lawler went there, Shawn Michaels was there. Like they had a lot of names go through there, but they just didn't have the money to keep them around when the WWE came calling. So uh,
Right.
they were basically WWE's developmental at the time.
Yeah. Scott Hall was there.
Yeah. So a lot of people went there, and yeah, this was an interesting trip down memory lane. Well, not really memory lane because we weren't alive for most of this. It's a trip down a lane that we never experienced before. So, yeah, if you are old enough to remember the AWA, let us know your favorite AWA memories, and also recommend another title we can talk about here on the channel, or any other video ideas you may have. Leave them in the comments because we would love to have whatever
Yeah.
you guys
So if
want to
you
see.
like this, if you like this title history, hit the like button. If you want to hear more of these title histories, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when we upload another title history. And we'll see you on the next video, which should be our predictions for All In.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. All In's going to be a 20-hour pay-per-view.
Oh, whatever.
So yeah, stay tuned for that tomorrow. All In predictions, and then next week we will obviously have our All In review plus some other fun stuff. So actually, next week we're also going to have our Bash in Berlin preview. So
Yeah.
not much special shit next week because we got a bunch of pay-per-views to do. So thank
Yeah.
you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one here on the channel. Bye.
Later.